A very good morning. We're glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV. The conversation behind the scenes before we come on air has been very vibrant, and no doubt I hope you have tightened your belt for the conversation that is coming your way. We are going to be looking at enhancing awareness of fraud risks wherever you are, as we take note in this particular segment of the morning show. On Twitter, the hashtag is Morning at NTV. You can also follow closely because we are streaming live on Facebook as well as on YouTube. For those that are watching from across the oceans, there you are. Well, fraud. How often do you hear that word? And if you do hear that word, how often do you encounter fraud? Have you been defrauded in whichever form? It could be on the internet, it could be on the phone or with the mobile money. It could be a case of an inflated receipt and there you are, the money has been taken. It is understood that organizations in the country and indeed across the globe lose about 5% of annual revenue to fraud. Now, if you're making 100 million shillings a year, it means 5 is going to theft as a result of fraud. Now, whatever is going on, if you are an organization, there is need to patch up those loose ends and of course close the gaps so that your money is not lost on you. But as an individual, it's pretty much important that you also give this attention. With me to discuss this very pertinent aspect is Mr. Mustapha, the president of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. Interesting there. I hadn't heard of that association. A very good morning, Mr. Mugisa.
Good morning, Chris. How are you
doing?
Fantastic.
Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. I like the word, the emphasis on certified, because we could also have fraudulent fraud examiners, not so?
That is true.
Interesting there.
Yes.
First, give us an overview of fraud risk, especially within our economy today.
Thank you. And as rightly you put it, an average organization, whether in the government, in the private sector, loses 5% of their annual revenue to fraud.
That's right.
Now, that represents a significant number because if you calculate, you have seen banks publishing their annual revenues, how much you find that many of them are even making losses. Many of them are not making 5% as a profit.
That's right.
So that represents a big problem. If you can reduce that leakage, then it would be fantastic.
Okay, in light of developments in technology, companies are finding it a bit difficult, especially to be able to plug the gaps, those that are unable to transition efficiently onto the technology platforms, but still want to stay in business. Could you say that those ones are to blame for their own losses?
Not really. Usually, we look at fraud like fire. If you're going to cause fire, you need 3 elements. You need heat, you need oxygen.
Interesting.
And of course, you need fuel.
Yeah.
So now you know that oxygen is everywhere, and nothing you can do about it. But then you can control the heat and the fuel. So the same thing, fraud requires motivation, requires rationalization.
That's right.
And requires opportunity. So the only thing which the organization can fix is the opportunity. Now, technology brings in a lot of possibilities because many people are not comfortable with it. So somebody, the few who are comfortable, are able to really manipulate and cause a lot of havoc. And also, in technology, we say there is no patched human stupidity, meaning that if somebody has a resource and they don't know how to use it, then it will be exploited.
It will be exploited.
So because many people who are given resources which are digitally driven do not take time to create awareness to understand how to protect themselves, so that creates fuels the fraud.
Interesting there. There is the Fraud Awareness Week.
Yes.
Yes, I know. There's a lot that goes on. People need to understand, for example, if you get a call from one of these guys who are like, hello, I'm from UCC, hello, I'm from MTN, and here you are, you've won yourself this and this and this. It is the level of fraud we are used to. However, there is more sophisticated fraud, the kind that comes with a lot of opportunities and sometimes too good to be true, but the Ugandan has come to believe that actually some things are true if they are good, and they go on to be defrauded. Does the Awareness Week drive to that particular being able to sensitize people on that?
Fraud Awareness Week is an international week. It began yesterday and it will go up to 19th. 19th. So globally, it was founded by the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. And the objective is to create awareness so that people know that there is zero tolerance for fraud, and there are controls. If you are involved in fraud, you'll be controls will detect them. But even where they don't and fraud does take place, you will be investigated. And if evidence points that you are the culprit, you'll be prosecuted. Okay. So now this creating of awareness or creation of awareness helps to prevent, because most of the time there are subtle frauds which people commit and they rationalize it and try to say, maybe this is not fraud, because you know, that is human nature. That's so right. However, when you create this awareness, somebody is able to know, okay, maybe this is very bad. For example, if I go and park by the filling station or petrol station and I pay 100,000 to fuel my car, and somebody, because this is I'm on the phone, instead of putting my real 100K, despite the high prices, just pops in maybe 70,000. 70,000. So Saturday is lost. Now, of course, you have heard some people saying maybe fraud is very good, sometimes it is good. Now you can see, usually most of the beneficiaries of fraud are only people going to say it is good. It's good. Because if I'm having a trip, I'm going maybe to Mbarara, I calculated it needs 100K to reach there. And now I'm going to be stuck in the middle. And I'm going to be remembering this man messed me up. So at that particular moment in time, the awareness goes to the fact that to prevent that particular fraud being conducted on you, you have to pay attention to how the fuel is being channeled into the tank. Yes. By looking and also paying attention to the figures, how they go on. That's a basic prevention measure. Exactly. Now, fraud is a critical driver in this economy for corruption, where people inflate costs of items in the procurement processes. If you're fighting corruption and then fraud continues to, you know, affect how you go forward, it is as if moving 2 steps in front and then going 4 backwards. True. Do we really stand a chance of putting fraud away? As I told you, the fraud triangle, you have motive. People are motivated. They see somebody is driving a Mercedes-Benz. And they also want to. They want to drive that. Even when their salary recommend they should be riding a bicycle. So you find that that motivation is inbuilt. Then also rationalization. People try to sugarcoat and say, maybe I have been working here for long and my boss gets a lot of money, I'm still earning late, maybe I deserve a better pay. So they cut corners and have reasons. Maybe my child at home is sick, and then I see there is a lot of money lying around. So you can see 2 of the 3 elements of fraud. The third one is the opportunity. Where there are no controls, there are no checks and balances. That's right. Somebody leaves the money at the reception and there's no camera and there's nobody keeping it safe. I'm going to pick it when I'm going because I know nobody is seeing. Nobody's seeing that. So now the only thing an organization or government can put in place to prevent fraud in that case is just controls. But the 2 drivers' motive is inherent, how I was brought up. Tell the average Ugandan the schemes that are most prevalent when it comes to fraud. Their everyday life, the guys who move from home to the office using either the public transport system, what kind of fraud should they be, you know, looking out for in order not to fall victim? When we talk about fraud, and you point out to corruption, fraud has 3 legs. The first one is, of course, corruption, which includes bribery. The second one is the fraudulent financial statements, where you have misreporting and cause people to have problems because of the poor reporting. And then, of course, the occupational fraud, which is also very big, asset misappropriation. Asset misappropriation. For example, if NTV gives you a laptop, official laptop, you go home, you leave it there and come crying that it has been stolen. Asset misappropriation. That is fraud. That is fraud, yes. So you have cash, you don't you don't report the theft. You simply go and buy that laptop and appear with a new one. So there are so many. You use company stationery for official work. You have coursework, say at Makerere, you're working here, and then there is a printer. You print your coursework on company stationery, and then you go. So now they will see paper is running. the printer is running dry.
Interesting.
It looks subtle and small, but if you expand it to so many people, you find that it represents a huge cost.
Okay.
But now the biggest one now, of course, is corruption. Because corruption, you're looking at economic extortion, you're looking at conflict of interest, you're looking at bribery, you're looking at things like that, and kickbacks and things like that. So you're using your position of influence to gain unfavorably. So this is why globally now they are comparing fraud as tax evasion.
As tax evasion.
Yes. So, and you find that these are the two biggest challenges. If countries can fix those two, the tax evasion and fraud, societies will be developed. You're going to find medicines in hospitals, you're going to find roads which are small.
And how is that possible? What interventions can be done?
What we are doing right now. What we are doing right now.
What are you doing at the
creating awareness.
Certified. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So across these 7 days, break down what's going to be happening. You said you began yesterday?
Yes, we began yesterday.
You're going up to the 19th.
Yes.
What is going to be happening and what's the climax?
Thank you. We are going to be having many companies during this week have called us, have fixed an appointment for us to speak to their staff and create awareness. So these ones we're calling them sponsoring organizations. We're going to speak to their staff. If you Google fraudweek.com,
yes,
you're going to find a lot of resources against fraud, and people can print, can share, can watch videos of cases which have been investigated so that they can increase their awareness.
Yeah.
But also one of the biggest cases, a $40 billion company which has just collapsed in the US, FTX, which is cryptocurrency trading exchange.
Right. It's all over.
You'll find that some of those case studies and how they have happened and what drives them, those kind of resources are there. So that when you create, one of the biggest challenges we have found is that people, they don't know their responsibility for fraud. But also, when they commit fraud, they go away with it. Nothing happens, no repercussion.
Okay.
So now this awareness is trying to do that. Then we have booked for many organizations that are going to be visiting. That include we are going to be at SWICO, we are going to be at Pride, we are going to be at DTB and many others. On Friday, it will be the highlight. We shall have a virtual session because of the restrictions. We shall have a Zoom session from 11 up to lunchtime where we're talking about fraud and giving free resources and so many testimonials.
All right, Mr. Mustapha Mugisa, President of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. I'll be committing fraud to my producer if I give you any more minutes.